I'm going to try and keep this as brief as possible, right? But this is on knowledge and stuff like that, and stuff like subliminal messaging and stuff like that, right? Basically to do with that. And what I'll start off and here with is basically, like what I've talked about firstly about knowledge and stuff, and referring to things like, like cover-ups or what they call conspiracies, where you ask why you're asking the official story, and simply put, these conspiracies are saying things that contradict the official stories that mainstream media tell you, because they're basically saying that there's proof that you've been lied to. From these what they call conspiracies, what are saying otherwise, you've been told by the mainstream media. So that's as brief as I can put it to what conspiracies are. They're like proving that there's lies been told to you from a story you've been told, whether it's politics or whatever. Anything like I said, Jill Dando, Michael Jackson, Princess Diana, all those things, 9/11. If anyone even has started researching those things from hearing my recordings, you will see, from that just says a lot about things, But yeah, knowledge is power, because through those what they call conspiracies, those people have done research, and research is near enough knowledge, and it's power, it's that thing, as I said, which people for quite a few generations have had taken away from them. It's critical thinking, mainly, as I said, based on the TV and that, and what I was talking about on those recordings, basically making people believe everything they see on the TV or hear on the TV without even asking questions or doing their own research. So yeah, knowledge is power, like a.k.a. says himself. And what I'll quickly do is briefly mention this dude's lyrics from Fire in the Booth, which impressed me when I first heard it, because it was a conscious freestyle. And what I were refer to the bars from this freestyle he did. He basically saying read. He's basically saying read as in, research things, get your own knowledge, get your education in that. And then the bars where he says, because when people are enslaved, one of the first things they do is stop them reading, because it is well understood that intelligent people will take their freedom. And what he's saying is, like intelligent people such as a.k.a. I won't boast, but say, I ain't exactly dumb, and a lot of people, they did what is referring to as, that intelligent people will take their freedom, and what is saying, referring to intelligent people will take their freedom, there is people I'm talking about, like governments and Illuminati and that, and all that stuff I'm talking about, that, through that brainwashing system where people believe in the mainstream media, that if those people who are all intelligent but they've been brainwashed to not use their critical thinking skill, if they basically found out their stories, as in did their research, they would take the power's freedom of taking their freedom and enslaving their minds with mind control, which is where I'm going to go on to subliminal messaging and all this stuff. This is just logical thinking, everything like that, all based on psychology, which is used against people. Everybody knows their brain, the power of the mind. If you control how someone thinks in their mind, and you brainwash them, you can near enough make them, believe anything. Especially with mainstream media, where they don't even have evidence and stuff behind what they say, until you look at what they call conspiracies, all that what I said. So, when that dude says, read is basically doing your research and stuff, actually getting it, read into things when you hear things, don't just listen to what you said. And when he says, if you, as an intelligent person, did that, you would take the powers above freedom to control you and enslave you. When he refers to when people are enslaved, well, people are mentally enslaved, mind control, basically what he's referring to, and that's what it's saying, that everybody as their nation, not just the UK, but all those countries powered by those, controlled by those powers, you're basically mentally enslaved, through the brainwashing system they use because you don't do research. So that's what that dude says, as an MC, I understand whatever MCs talk about when they say that. I focus on the lyrics and what when people talk about that stuff. So yeah, that's what a.k.a. talks about on that track, which he put on his Knowledge is Power album, his first one, I believe. So that's just one example of what I'm talking about. Knowledge is power, basically what they call conspiracies, which has been ridiculed, as Immortal Technique says, basically as to dismiss people, conspiracy theorists. They've made it a different definition to what actually is in the dictionary, what it actually means. They basically made conspiracy theorists conspiracy, like basically nutters who don't know what they're on about and they're talking crap. But as proved from 9/11 conspiracies and all that stuff, where they've proved things that contradict official stories, where the official stories didn't even have backup to them. That conspiracy actually means, as I said, it makes you question because you've got reason not to believe it. And as referring to Immortal Technique, where Immortal Technique says, I've put that quote in my videos, conspiracy theorists are nothing but a derogatory title to dismiss a critical thinker, and that's what refers to that. It's been defined as a different way, but I haven't actually looked it up near enough in the dictionary. Conspiracy is based, and that is just basically critical thinker in a different definition, different term. So you know what I mean? Never listen to that portrayal, because that portrayal has been brought along by those powers to make those people conspiracy theorists, a.k.a. truth talkers, who are intelligent and ask questions to look like they're dumb, to keep the people who could listen to them and wake up and follow them, and realise the truth. If they ridicule them, everyone's through that brainwashing system, through the mainstream media who they use to do that and ridicule them, to keep them asleep. So you know what I mean? And this will make sense, it's just critical thinking myself, logical thinking. So you follow on that. So yeah, knowledge is power. Just do your research and things. You get, as long as it's got decent sources, etc. As I said, like 9/11 and all that stuff. And then what we'll do, the main thing, what I'll focus on, this is what this is about. This is about subliminal messages and subliminal messaging and mind control, basically implanting ideas into your mind without you realising, right? And this is what I was thinking about, and this is crazy, this third eye view what I talk about. And if anyone remembers Darren Brown's How to Control the Nation TV show, what was on a few years ago, when I was watching that and they came up to this thing where he said, where he was telling people what to do to hypnotise them. All I know, when I was sitting there, I think it was on Highfield Road with my ex, something was telling me, I don't know what it was myself or like my best friend God, someone was saying, don't listen to that, and I didn't. All I know is something was saying, don't do what this dude's telling you to do, right? And so I didn't. And you know what I follow on for that, through subliminal messaging. There's a reason for that, and where I'm basing on the media, the TV as a brainwashing machine. And mind control, where that thing called How to Control the Nation basically was, that program was a mind control program through hypnosis, And all I know is when that came on, something or someone was telling me, don't follow those instructions and let them hypnotise you. But the conspiracy behind this, even though it's not really covered. And I did see one thing, a result, what I'm looking at on my screen now, which is on YouTube, which says How to Control the Nation's Subliminal Message. And basically on this video, which I'll lead on to, which has been used in the past, is on this clip what he was talking. What they've shown is, it was like a subliminal message. It was an image what came up for a one frame of the thing, but it would have been implanted on your mind while he was talking. Nobody would have noticed it, because on this video they've slowed it down to show it. And basically this subliminal message, all I know is on this video, it's a subliminal image. What was so quick, no one would have noticed it. And it basically got a picture of a dude with no arms and legs tied to a chair. And I'm thinking, what I mean? And if I didn't see that, well, I don't know if I was watching that part, but if I was, well, I can't remember that myself, so that says something. So, you know, there's a lot of conspiracy behind that, but with good reason, tied to the TV being a brainwashing machine and the corporate-owned channels, and why something told me not to even, you know, follow those instructions. And, you know, like subliminal messaging, moving, you know, following on from this conspiracy. It's basically, you know, this is, and you can do your research, and this is something that came back from memory, you know, like back in the 70s, 50s, even maybe, cinemas did the same technique as I just explained, as this Darren Brown thing, where they put in a frame in adverts, like in their cinemas back then. They put in one frame, and if you know what a one frame is, it's basically a quick flash. You can't even see that, but your eyes see it, but you can't actually see it while you're watching it, but it's implanted in your mind subliminally. They did that with advertising for Coke and that, and drink, just food, so people bought that food from the cinema lobby. You know, they spent money, obviously, for the business. And, you know, they put things like, it would have been like that, like a quick frame of what I explained when the dude didn't tie to a chair, but it would have said, go and buy a Coke. Go and buy some popcorn. It's just like a basic instruction, you know, through psychological, which is all psychological I've been on about. Basically, without you realising it, in those words, your eyes would have read it, even though it was a quick flash, you still would have subliminally messaged. And basically, your minds, it would have implanted into your mind that your mind was thinking, go and buy a Coke, like, I need a Coke. This is where it comes through, you know. And, you know, this isn't, you know what I mean, this is real, actual. You can do your research. As I said, the based on knowledge is power. So, you know, this technique has been used for years, you know, and I don't know if they still use it or not, because, you know, you never know if they do, even on TV adverts and that. On the mainstream media today, as he did on that, it could even still be shown, even on news, mainstream media. It could say anything, and they could put in a sentence that says something, and you won't even notice it. And then what I'll move on to, based on this, you know, regarding to Snopes, this website I previously talked about, and a conspiracy who it's owned by. You know, I'm looking at this Snopes website again, referring to a thing that proves they lied about this site lies, and it's corporate owned or owned as a front by higher powers. And you know that this this conspiracy thing about subliminal advertising on my screen, it's saying basically this conspiracy is false and they're making up a load of lies. Well, you refer to the research where it proves otherwise about it, especially just to do with the older adverts in cinemas and that, where they did that in the first place, you know, and you'll find out they did it, and there'll even be proof in that. You know, like slowed down video stills, even the Darren Brown How to Hypnotise the Nation one, or Control the Nation, what they call it, the video still a lot. So yeah, it does exist, and it just shows about Snopes, what I said about that site as well, and the other one about chemtrails. I mean, you know, regarding to the last recording again, where I said about I can sense even planes flying over in the UFO thing. I mean, a few minutes ago when I was sitting there, the same thing happened. I was recording. I just look out the window randomly, and I saw a plane flying over the town again, and it was releasing vapours, as I said, based on this chemtrail thing. And what we'll move on to anyway, based on this subliminal thing, to do with subliminal messages. This is going to be a shorter recording, so you don't have to get too bored. What we'll move on to quickly, I'm just seeing what I haven't covered. Yeah, and this is the thing, and this is based on this is all psychological, so even if you're skeptical and, you know, you still think conspiracy theorists are all this and that, this is based on conspiracy. And what I came across in this article is based on psychology, and, you know, anyone who knows psychology, that's just psychology. And what I came across regarding this thing with subliminal messaging, and this stuff gets deep, you know, to do with even what I said on kids' cartoons and, you know. But there's an example they use, you know, basically this thing I'm looking at on my screen, which I'll link on the video when I put it up. It's got it's got words right on the screen. It's got yellow, but in bold, like yellow on the. It says in word in yellow, but the color is green. It's got blue, the word blue, but it's coloured as red. And basically what this example used based on psychology and subliminal messaging, I will briefly say, it says, take a look at this following picture This is a great way of testing your left and right side of the brain. First try to say the words, ignore the colours. Then do it again and try to say the colours and not the words, right? And basically I did this myself. And first I read the words as they were, and then I went back and read the colours in those words. And basically after this it says, when you've read the words rather than say the colour, you are using the left hand side of the brain. But try and say the colours rather than the word. It's a lot more difficult. I keep stumbling and get the odd ones wrong. And this is using the right hand side of the brain. Most people easily read the words like me, but most people will struggle or at least stumble while just trying to say the colour, which is I did, And this is a great example of how to use our right hand side of the brain. Right hand side of the brain is being suppressed. The left side of the brain should be in harmony with no side dominating the other. So just a part of that, that's exactly that's psychology, and this is to do with subliminal messaging, where you can twist things around using like colours as well as doing that. And then I'm looking at things like subliminal messages and adverts and that, which are used like on billboards and that and stuff like that, right? And basically there's pictures advertising food and stuff around an adverts, and they basically say afterwards, they say, ask yourself, do you feel hungry now and that? And after I read it, I did have a bit of appetite. Basically, those adverts without realising, and a specific one, McChicken Nut, those adverts subliminally do that, and even what I'm looking at now is regarding this thing I said about the cinemas, where they show a video still, basically one frame without you realising or seeing it with your eyes, but it's implanted in your mind subliminally. What they used, on that thing it says hungry, eat popcorn, and basically, as I said, you wouldn't have seen it with your eyes, but your mind would have seen it without you actually consciously realising, subliminally, subconsciously. So this is all research, again based on research as well, of what was found out, things what were hidden until discovered. And basically these things are implied into your mind without you realising. It's a very deep thing. There's an example what I'm scrolling down again, based on this, and this is to do with Seychelles 50 rupees note, right? And basically on the side, you'll see it on the article when I link it on the video, on the right side next to I don't know who the person is on it, like the Queen's head on the pounds note, isn't it? Basically on the it's something that looks like palm trees, right? And what they've done, realising the subliminal message, they've highlighted in dark pen what these palm trees actually say as a subliminal message. And when it's highlighted, the palm leaves are actually saying sex, and that's a subliminal message to implant sex in your mind, right? And they're basically saying sex is a reoccurring theme when it comes to subliminal messages. Some people say this makes the product subconsciously appearing, meaning you could be attracted to something purely based on subconscious thought. This makes sense, based on money and how people are so obsessed with it. A lot of people, want to be rich and that, and they're based on it. And, based on, and this is just, even if conspiracy, more based on psychology, and subliminal messaging, that if that word, whereas it's proved on this 50 roots note, says sex on it, sex is one of the most desirable human instincts. A lot of people like it. And if that's psychologically connected to a bit of money, that's going to make it more desirable based on their desire for sex. It's subliminal message to make psychologically to make them desirable to money and therefore want to get rich. And then we'll move on to this is where I'm talking about what I said before about like kids' cartoons with subliminal messages that say sort of stuff like that. And basically this one's, I don't know what, I'll move on to ones what are more, this is another one which actually has sex, which has been highlighted again without realising, another subliminal style, like that note. And this is a cartoon. I don't know what cartoon this is, but it's a kid's cartoon, and basically what you can see, what you would have seen, or the kid would have seen watching this cartoon, is just stars in the sky, right? But what they've done, again, maybe through the subliminal, subconsciously realising, whoever discovered it, is highlighted these stars. And when it's highlighted in marker, it's actually saying sex, And that's, again, and this is implanted into kids' minds at a young age, So these things, as I said, referring back to, like subliminal messaging on TV shows and all that stuff, you start to see it. This is just based on psychology and that, because subliminal message is obviously to do with implanting ideas in your mind, so therefore psychology. This is going to be as short as possible recording, so if you do go and see this video and see it short, you might want to listen to it and then rather drag out an hour. But I'm just keeping it as brief as possible. And then we'll move on, regarding to the mind control thing, what I've talked about before. Again, which I can refer back to, the Darren Brown thing, how to control a nation, therefore it was hypnosis, how to control the mind. Well, this is based on that, mind control, and what I referred to before. And this is, again, research and not hard to do, again, with science, where people don't know a lot about a lot of scientific stuff that exists. And if you research what they call, I think it's in Alaska, and this is from memory when I first read it 8 years ago, but a thing called HAARP, I believe, HARP, and basically there's some kind of thing in Alaska, right? And it basically, I don't know, it sends off some kind of thing like mind control, basically it's based on the frequencies that people have in their brains, and these frequencies can go into that frequency what everyone shares in their mind, is their brains, and it, it can implant, mind control, make them think things they're not thinking. And I even said it myself, when I've read this article, which even had a lot of things, scientifically possible and not hard, especially when you look at the scientific stuff we have today, scientifically. Basically, they can even put it into amps and that, like an amp-sized thing disguised as an amp for speakers or anything like that, right? And it can have something in it, which is sending off those signals. So yeah. There's a lot of things based on this, and there's a thing, what I'm looking at right now, based on this thing to do with Darren Brown again, which actually states itself. Darren Brown is a master of subliminal suggestion techniques, so therefore, as I said, he obviously knows psychology in the first place, because hypnosis and that. But yeah, and as I said, the connections with the, whether conspiracy or not, but with decent backup, what I've talked about, about it being a brainwashing machine, and all that stuff, and how it was based on how to hypnotise the nation, and it was so hyped up to get people to watch it in the first place, like they wanted to get the whole of the UK as much as they could to watch it, based on this theory. And as I said, referring to when it came to him saying about the instructions to, why people would have been watching that program, and even, all I know is when he was saying it to make them get into being hypnotised, something, or someone was telling me don't follow it, and I didn't follow it, and there's something suspicious about that in the first place. So, some people, would think this is shocking and this is out stupid, but referring to this skit what I put on one of my videos from a dangerous political activist MC, Third Eye View, basically that skit says, sometimes you find someone very special, someone who hears the unheard, someone who understands the mystery. Sometimes there's someone who sees with a third eye, and that really refers to me, So there's a lot of things to that. I said, but especially where it's based on, where I I had premonitions of two major attacks, in New York and London. I predicted them, and that I must have some ability, to be able to predict things like that, in the first place. But I swear I'll keep it as brief as possible, There's a lot of things that people don't realise, about a lot of this stuff. I remember something to do with that exorcism, the Exorcist TV shows as well. Which I saw, again, which was proved to have subliminal messaging on it. And what I saw about that, what it's about anyway. It's like this basically an antichrist thing. It's about evil in the first place. But it was saying, on there basically there was subliminal, again, messages, the same sort of thing they used with that advertising that Darren Brown show, where on this film they implied things to do with like paedophilia and shit like that, and really evil stuff, implanted into the minds of the watchers who watch those films. And you've got to ask yourself, you can disregard the back in the 50s where the lie, I believe, is a lie. What I forward to, where they stopped doing it. But But then when you think about it, critical thinking, why was that Darren Brown show, which was showing a clip of where they inserted one of those subliminal messages still on there, which was after 2000 show, if apparently it was abolished and they didn't use it anymore. And then you've got to ask yourself, if they did it on that show, how do you know when you're watching the news, your kids are even watching cartoons today, like, which I referred to before, where if you research on that, there's a lot of sexual, whatever it's called in those cartoons where it's been discovered. How do you know any of those TV programs that you've watched based on this conspiracy of corporate-owned media are doing that to you? Not just adverts, but on those TV shows. Any TV show you watch, documentaries, news, anything. Because as I said, referring to it's one frame, and basically put one frame is so quick. It's, it's like the speed of light near enough, And as I said, it's subliminal that your mind will subconsciously see it, even though your eyes physically can't see it, but that idea is planted in your mind. And that can be on TV shows. As I said, anything from news to even what your kids watch. So, There's a lot of sinister stuff behind that. And really lots of stuff behind that, There is a reason, maybe, why I don't even watch TV anymore in the first place, for starters, to do with that. Maybe this ability I've got already realised that, especially with a lot of stuff I realise, And it really puts along... as I said, what I said on the last recording, why it seems I feel like I'm being taken down and people are trying to take me out. It's a conspiracy, but with decent reason. Because obviously, if the conspiracy was they knew that I have this ability and I'm basically exposing, they would obviously want to take someone out who has that ability to, to ruin their evil plans, let's just say. So, I'll leave the links up on this video when I put it up and stuff, so people can read them themselves, and this is more based on psychology if you're still skeptical about the Illuminati and that, but even based on this is another way of, even putting you to that entrance of that rabbit hole to go further in and maybe even lead you on to the 9/11 stuff and further on, and do your own research for that, because this isn't even based on anything in that. This is just to do with psychological subliminal messaging with really bad stuff in the content, which is wrong, So, I've kept it as brief as possible, and hopefully from that you can, follow your own path, and hopefully more people will wake up, because this is what I want people to do, I want people to wake up. And, before I leave, what I will say, briefly, you need to critically think again. Critical thinking is a skill that everyone has, intelligent people, anyone's intelligent, has taken away. Referring to this thing, with basically it was a mainstream, again, corporate-owned channel in America where a 9/11 truth talker, a.k.a. conspiracy nut, as they call him, or tried to call him, was on there. And basically, when he was interviewed, they was asking him, why do you think this is about 9/11? Why do you think these fears, and that, ridiculing him? And he said something basically right, which, which made sense, a critical thinking, a critical question. And basically on analysis from this memory of seeing it, this TV presenter who was interviewing, like live from the studio, he suddenly said something out of the blue to put him down and make him look so stupid and like a joke, And, based on that, on what I've been talking about, all I can say is that basically near enough put, because this mainstream corporate-owned channel would have been being watched by millions, who knows, Americans. If these people heard that dude, the 9/11 truther, asked this critical question, just one thing for them to question 9/11, and what does it make sense? They knew, the people who own that, they would have known, they would have woke up and gone and researched it. And basically what happened after that, well, as I said, this presenter, he suddenly started ridiculing him and trying to make him look so much of a joke, because the way I see it is they were basically, because he has an earpiece in with someone telling him some certain things, basically it's like they were saying people might wake up, just make him look like a joke, just make him look so stupid that people will fall asleep. That's all I can basically put it as an example, And that doesn't make sense, because what this dude said on this clip, as I said, it really made sense, it was one simple question, critical question that contradicted the official story. And that doesn't make sense for starters, So yeah, there's a lot of things behind these things, And this is why I try, this is a person, I'm a dude who's gone down this path for a reason. I asked these questions where it led from 9/11 for a reason, because, I didn't even lose anyone in 9/11, let alone, I'm English and that. But, all I know is, it's, to me, morally, that things like that, innocent people who were killed in false flag attacks, out of corruption and over money and blood. And, not just in the Twin Towers, but in the Middle East and that. Just humans, that's wrong in the first place, and it's one of the reasons why I went down the path that I'm at today. And people need to realise that, it's not it's very, very serious stuff, and I don't think people realise the seriousness behind these things. When they realise that, these things are, even if they can't accept them as true, they know there's things behind it that says what they were told wasn't true. And, as I said, it is said that a lot of people are in denial out of fear of knowing the truth, based, as I said, on what this lady said, who was a psychologist herself, who said, a lot of people are so scared, in America itself mainly, who ridicule it, but, because they're scared to even imagine that their own government would do something like that. It was shocking to me, as I said, referring back to what my ex said, trying to show me the videos when I was sceptical about it. I was like, no way could the American government do that. It just sounds insane, stupid. But, what's led from that is where I'm at now, And, it is, it scared me, but the more I've learnt about it, it's not become surprising. So, and as I said, and I'll mention again, I never ever, when I went to school, college, never ever studied psychology. This is just a thing that I learned myself, just one of my natural skills based on the last recording I made to do with the conspiracy of who I am and that. So there's a lot of things behind that, And as I said, psychology, basically, this is logical thinking. The person who ever studied psychology in the first place obviously studied psychology in the minds, using the same sort of thing I did, just from analysis, of how the mind works, So, that's just the way it goes. This is how I've done it, as the person who studied it, without having to read it from people who have learnt it. Just learnt it as, for myself. So, there's a lot of things behind that. But, this is based on psychology, subliminal messaging, and that. And as I said, knowledge as well. Knowledge, basically research, knowledge and power. As a.k.a. says himself. And as I mentioned at the start of the track, just research things, especially even if you're told from someone else. You know, that they say whatever you've been told doesn't make sense, or they give you something to make you think about it, even ask yourself about something to do with war politics. And you know, you can do that yourself, because you know, a lot of people are based on, especially to do with this God thing, you know, or a lot of things, UFOs. If I don't see it, I don't believe it. And you know, when it comes to research, obviously you have to find decent sources and, you know, evidence and that. And well, that's what I do. You know, as I said, when I first started, I made sure these, what they called conspiracies, had decent sources to them. So if you even like that, you know, always do the research yourself. Google is decent. It's like an encyclopedia. You know, it's got lots of information and backup to it, and leaked information. And you can do that yourself. If you're so skeptical, you need as much proof as possible. And you will end up where I'm at now, you know, probably after 7-8 years or so, or less than that. You know, I've learnt so much. And you will be shocked, as I said, no matter where your path leads, maybe from this video when it's uploaded, or even from 9/11 conspiracies. But, you know, as soon as you start researching, you will want to go down that rabbit hole, because, you know, they say the truth sets you free. And it really does, you know, based on any situation in life. When you know you want to know the truth about something, it sets you free. For example, say if you're a dude and you're in love with a lady, right? And, you know, you want to know if she's in love with you too, you know, and she tells you she loves you back. You know, it's a relief, or vice versa. It doesn't matter what gender, but you know what I mean? It's a relief. The truth sets you free. You know, you're relieved, and it's just the same as things like this. So yeah, you know what I mean? I'll keep it as brief as possible. It's about, 36 minutes long. So yeah, you know, just do your research and that, and, you know, look into it yourself. You know, don't believe me, look it up, and you'll find out yourself stuff what I learnt myself. So yeah, thanks for listening. Cheers, peace.